If you look at homestead heritage today, you see a community plugged into the modern world. Everyone's on social media, kids aren't even baptized, have iPhones, and the internet is everywhere. But if you go back to Blair's time, the rules were entirely different. Back then, being separated from the world wasn't just a spiritual idea, it was a strict physical mandate, and nowhere was that control more visible than in how they handled phones. If you were under 18 and not baptized, devices simply didn't exist for you, period. Even if you turned 18 and did get baptized, your best case scenario was usually a basic flip phone. If you were somehow allowed to get an iPhone, it was completely stripped of its freedom. No internet access, no app store, no mobile games, you couldn't even shop on Amazon. To use the internet on your own phone, an adult or minister had to physically type in a lock code. And even while you were online, you were watched until you finished, and then the code went back on. I had a coworker in her 30s, a full adult with her own iPhone, who couldn't order anything on Amazon unless her brother, who was a baptized minor minister, came over to unlock her phone for her. Some ministers' daughters, even after getting baptized, weren't allowed to own a phone until they turned 27. Having social media was a huge no-no, and that was one of the main reasons they cut off internet access and locked down our phones in the first place. They were terrified of outside influence. You would get in huge trouble if you were caught with even a burner account just to stalk people or browse. The ministers even told us to stop using WhatsApp because in their eyes it was too much like Facebook. Couldn't have anything connected to Meta. They literally gave us classes in our meetings on how to use our phones and how to be discreet with them. I remember Aber Adams standing up at a Tuesday night meeting explicitly telling us to stop making group chats. He claimed it was a distraction and insisted that if you had a photo to share, you should only send it to the one specific person who needed to see it, rather than blowing up everyone's phone. It went way beyond basic monitoring. It was about optics and total isolation. Phones were strictly banned inside the church. Eventually, electronics were clamped down on so hard that smartwatches were forbidden too. Unless, of course, you were at the top of the hierarchy, people like Amanda Lancaster and Mark Dickey. The doctors, the important people, they were the exception. They could wear them. For the rest of us, the rules on discretion were constant. Even work phones weren't exempt from the paranoia. When I worked at the cafe, if I needed to use the cafe's work phone to call my mom, I couldn't just stand there and make the call where the public could see me. I had to sneak into an empty back room or step behind the kitchen. Homestead made it clear, if you use a phone, you do it discreetly. We were sold on this image of being completely unspotted by the world, so we couldn't let outsiders catch us using technology. Over time, the pressure intensified. They started controlling internet access so aggressively that older couples gave up entirely, ditching their cell phones and going back to basic house landlines. The only reason my family was permitted to have internet was because my dad owned his own business. Otherwise, total disconnection. That's how far they were willing to go to keep us off the internet and out of reach of outside information. Which brings us back to today. Looking at the community now, you'd hardly recognize those old rules. The strict separation, the hidden phone calls in back rooms, the minister permission codes, it was all enforced like the absolute word of God until suddenly it wasn't.